Park Do-hyun hated parties. He especially hated fancy parties, where everyone wore expensive clothes and spoke in careful, polite words that meant nothing. But here he was, standing in the grand hall of the starship Horizon's Edge, wearing his best uniform and holding a glass of something purple that tasted like flowers and regret. The diplomatic gala was full of aliens. Do-hyun had seen many species during his 3 years in space. But tonight the ship carried representatives from over 40 different worlds. Tall creatures with feathers walked beside short beings made of living crystal. Ambassadors with tentacles shook hands with generals who had scales. And somewhere in this crowd, Do-hyun was supposed to represent Earth's engineering corps. He was 28 years old, average height. With messy black hair he had tried and failed to make look professional. His friend Sunwoo stood beside him, grinning at everything like a child at a carnival. "This is amazing," Sunwoo whispered. "Look at that one. She has 4 arms. 4 arms, Do-hyun. Can you imagine the possibilities?" "Please stop talking," Do-hyun said. "You need to relax. Talk to someone. Make friends. Isn't that why we're here?" "We're here because Captain Yoon said he would give us cleaning duty for 6 months if we didn't come." Sunwoo laughed and wandered off toward a table of alien food, leaving Do-hyun alone. He found a quiet corner near a window and watched the stars drift by. Space was beautiful when you didn't have to think about politics. That was when he saw them. 2 women walked through the crowd, and everyone moved aside for them. They were tall, almost 2 meters, with skin that shimmered silver blue under the lights. Their hair was pure white, falling past their shoulders like fresh snow. Their eyes glowed soft violet, and when they moved, it was like watching water flow. They were identical, twins. Do-hyun knew the species, Valorians, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, proud, powerful, and very traditional. Their empire had existed for 10,000 years before humans even discovered fire. He tried to look away, but one of the twins turned her head and caught his gaze. She said something to her sister, and then both of them started walking toward him. Do-hyun's heart began to race. He looked around for an escape, but his corner had become a trap. The twins reached him in seconds, their violet eyes studying him like scientists examining a new specimen. "Human," the first one said. Her voice was deep and commanding. "You are from the engineering delegation." "Yes," Do-hyun managed. "I'm Park Do-hyun. I fix things." "I am Lyra," she said. "Daughter of High Matriarch Valessa. This is my sister, Mira." Mira nodded at him. She seemed quieter than her sister, but her eyes were just as intense. "We have not spoken to many humans before," she said. "Your species is new to us. We've only been in space for about 200 years, Do-hyun said. "So yes, pretty new." Lyra tilted her head. "And yet you spread so quickly. Curious creatures." There was an awkward silence. Do-hyun sipped his purple drink and immediately regretted it. The taste had not improved. "Tell me, Park Do-hyun," Lyra said suddenly. "Do you have a bonded partner?" Do-hyun blinked. The question seemed strange, like asking someone their blood type at a party. But Valorians were known for being direct. Maybe this was normal small talk for them. "A bonded partner?" He laughed nervously. No, I'm tragically single, have been for years. Nobody wants me." He meant it as a joke, self-deprecating humor. The kind of thing humans said to fill uncomfortable silences. But the moment the words left his mouth, something changed. Lyra's eyes widened. Mira drew in a sharp breath. Around them, every Valorian in the room turned to stare. The conversations died. The music seemed to fade. "What?" Do-hyun said. "What did I say?" Lyra and Mira exchanged a look. Something passed between them. Some silent communication that twins often shared. Then they both stepped closer to him. Each one placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have declared yourself unbonded," Lyra said, her voice ringing clear across the silent hall. "Before witnesses. Before eligible daughters of the matriarchy. What? By ancient law," Mira continued, "we have the right to claim you." "Claim me?" The twins spoke together, their voices harmonizing in a way that sent shivers down Do-hyun's spine. "We claim this human. He is ours." The hall exploded into noise. Aliens of every species began talking, shouting, gasping. Do-hyun saw Nari, the human cultural liaison officer, drop her champagne glass. It shattered on the floor, but she didn't seem to notice. Her face had gone completely white. "Wait," Do-hyun said, raising his hands. "Wait. Wait. I was joking. It was a joke. Humans do that. We say things we don't mean to be funny. Words have power," Lyra said. "Among our people, what is spoken is truth. You declared yourself available. We have chosen you, but I didn't know. Ignorance does not undo what is done." Sunwoo appeared at Do-hyun's side, his eyes wide as plates. "What did you do?" he hissed. "Why are the scary alien princesses touching you?" "I don't know," Do-hyun said helplessly. "I just said I was single." "You said what?" Nari pushed through the crowd, her professional smile barely hiding her panic. "Ladies, gentlemen, honored guests. There seems to be a small misunderstanding. Perhaps we could discuss this in private?" "There is nothing to discuss," Lyra said calmly. "The claim is made. It is witnessed. It is done. But he's human," Nari said. "He doesn't know your customs. Then he will learn." Mira's hand was still on Do-hyun's shoulder. Her touch was warm, warmer than he expected. She leaned close and spoke softly. "Just for him. Do not be afraid, Park Do-hyun. We did not expect this either. But fate works in strange ways. Perhaps there is a reason you spoke those words tonight." "The reason is that I'm an idiot," Do-hyun whispered back. Mira smiled. It was small and brief, but real. "Perhaps. But you are our idiot now." The Valorian delegation surrounded them, led by an older woman with silver robes and a crown of crystal. The High Matriarch herself. Lyra and Mira's mother. She looked at Do-hyun with eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. He felt like an insect under her gaze. "So," she said slowly, "this is the human who has claimed my daughter's attention." "Actually," Do-hyun said weakly, "I think they claimed me." The matriarch studied him for a long moment. Then she turned to Nari. "Inform your captain. We have much to discuss. This human has started something that cannot be easily stopped. If he rejects my daughters now, after a public claim, it will be seen as an insult to our entire species." Nari swallowed hard. "And what happens if he insults your species?" The matriarch's expression didn't change. "Then there will be war." Do-hyun felt the floor tilt beneath him. War. An intergalactic war. Because he made a joke about being single. Sunwoo leaned in one more time. "You know," he said quietly, "when I told you to talk to someone, this isn't what I meant." Do-hyun closed his eyes and wondered if it was too late to transfer to a different galaxy. The emergency meeting started at midnight and lasted until dawn. Do-hyun sat at a long metal table in the ship's briefing room. Across from him sat Captain Yoon, Admiral Park, 3 human diplomats, and Nari, who kept looking at him like he had personally ruined her life. To his right sat the Valorian delegation, including the High Matriarch and her twin daughters. To his left sat Sunwoo, who had refused to leave because he wanted to see how this ended. "Let me make sure I understand," Admiral Park said slowly. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. "You attended the gala. You spoke to the Valorian princesses. And you accidentally triggered an ancient bonding ritual that could start a war." "Yes, sir," Do-hyun said quietly. "By saying you were single." "Yes, sir." The Admiral closed his eyes and pressed his fingers to his forehead. "In my 40 years of service, I have never encountered a situation this ridiculous." "To be fair," Sunwoo added helpfully, "he didn't know." "That does not help, Lieutenant Kang." The High Matriarch raised one elegant hand. The room fell silent. When she spoke, her voice filled the space like smoke. "Perhaps it would help if I explained our customs," she said. "Among Valorians, bonds are sacred. They are not like your human marriages, which can be made and broken on a whim. A bond is forever. It connects souls. I respect that, Admiral Park said carefully. But surely there must be some way to undo this. The young man made an honest mistake. There are 3 paths forward, the matriarch said. First, he may accept the bond. He would become the bonded partner of my daughters, the first human to join a Valorian family. Do-hyun felt his stomach twist. Second, he may undertake the trials of worth. This is an ancient tradition. If he completes the trials and proves himself unworthy, the claim is void, and honor is preserved. And the third option? Admiral Park asked. He refuses the bond outright. He rejects my daughters publicly, as they claimed him publicly. The matriarch's violet eyes turned cold. This would be a grave insult. My people would demand satisfaction. There would be consequences. War, Nari said flatly. She means war. The silence that followed was heavy. Do-hyun looked at Lyra and Mira. They sat perfectly still, watching him. Lyra's face was unreadable, a mask of royal composure. But Mira's eyes held something softer. Curiosity, maybe, or concern. Can I speak to them? Do-hyun asked suddenly. Alone? The matriarch raised an eyebrow. You wish to speak with my daughters privately? Yes. If I'm going to make a decision that affects all of us, I want to understand them first. Not as princesses, as people. The room stirred. This was unusual. But after a moment, the matriarch nodded. Very well. Lyra, Mira, you may speak with the human. The rest of us will wait. They gave him a small meeting room. It had a window showing the stars and 3 uncomfortable chairs. Do-hyun sat in one. Lyra and Mira sat across from him. For a long moment, nobody spoke. You must think I'm stupid, Do-hyun finally said, making a joke like that without knowing what it meant. Humans are young, Lyra said. You cannot know everything about every species. This is understood, but you're still holding me to it. We are Valorian. Words matter. Actions matter. You spoke, and we answered. This is how things work. Do-hyun leaned forward. Why? Why did you claim me? You could have ignored it. You could have pretended you didn't hear. Lyra was silent. Mira answered instead. We saw you standing alone, watching the stars, while everyone else played politics. You looked different. Real. Real? Everyone at that gala wanted something from us. Power. Alliance. Favor. You just wanted to be left alone. Mira smiled slightly. It was refreshing. Lyra spoke again. And this time her voice was softer. When you said you were unbonded, something shifted in me. I cannot explain it. I felt that this moment was important, that you were important, but you don't know me. No. Lyra admitted. We don't. But Valorians trust instinct. Our ancestors survived 10,000 years by listening to their hearts. My heart told me to claim you. Do-hyun sat back. This was insane. 2 alien princesses had essentially proposed to him because of a feeling. Because he looked lonely at a party. If I accept the bond, he said slowly. What happens? What does that life look like? You would come to Valoria, Lyra said. You would live in the palace, learn our ways. You would be our partner in all things. Would I ever see Earth again? My family? My friends? Travel is possible. We are not prisoners, but your primary home would be with us. Do-hyun thought about Earth. He hadn't been back in 2 years. His parents sent messages that he sometimes forgot to answer. He had no girlfriend. No close family waiting for him. His life was the ship, the stars, and Sunwoo making bad jokes. But giving up everything? For 2 women he just met? And if I take the trials? He asked. What happens if I fail? Mira answered. The trials of worth are designed to test mind, body, and spirit. They are difficult. Most who attempt them do not succeed. But if I fail, the claim is broken? No war? No insult? Correct. If you fail fairly, honor is satisfied. You would be free. Lyra leaned forward. But I must warn you, Park Do-hyun, the trials are not designed for humans. They are designed for Valorians. Your species is younger, weaker, less developed. The trials may break you. You think I can't do it. I think it is unlikely. Something stirred in Do-hyun's chest. It felt like stubbornness. Like pride. Humans had been told they couldn't do things before. They'd been told they couldn't leave their planet, couldn't survive in space, couldn't stand among the older species. And every time, they'd proven the galaxy wrong. I'll take the trials, he said. Both twins stared at him. You are certain? Mira asked. You would risk your life rather than accept us? It's not about accepting or rejecting you. It's about choice. Right now, I don't have a choice. I'm trapped by rules I didn't know, and words I didn't mean. If I take the trials, at least I'm fighting for my own future. Whatever happens after that, I'll decide freely. Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then something changed in her face. A small crack in the mask. Was that respect? You are braver than I expected, she said, or more foolish. I have not decided which. Probably both, Do-hyun admitted. They returned to the briefing room. Do-hyun stood before the admiral, the diplomats, and the high matriarch. I've made my decision, he said. I'll take the trials of worth. The room reacted. Gasps, whispers, worried looks. But the matriarch simply nodded. So be it. The trials will begin in 3 days. You will face the trial of mind, the trial of body, and the trial of spirit. If you pass all 3, the bond stands. If you fail, you are free. And if the trials kill him? Admiral Park asked bluntly. Then that is his fate. Do-hyun swallowed hard, but he didn't look away. I understand, he said. I'm ready. Sunwoo grabbed his arm as they left the room. Are you crazy? Did you hear her? These trials could kill you. I heard. Then why? Do-hyun stopped walking. He looked at his friend, and then at the stars beyond the window. Because I'm tired of things happening to me. For once, I want to make something happen myself. Even if it's stupid, even if it hurts. Sunwoo shook his head. You know, most guys would just say yes to the 2 beautiful alien princesses. Do-hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm not most guys. I'm the idiot who started a potential war by complaining about being single. 3 days. 3 trials. And everything would change. The chamber looked like something from a nightmare. Do-hyun stood at the entrance of a massive room filled with floating platforms, glowing symbols, and walls that shifted like living things. Holographic light filled the air, creating shapes and patterns that hurt his eyes. The floor beneath him hummed with energy. This is the trial of mind, Lyra explained. She stood beside him with Mira and a group of Valorian observers. You must navigate the labyrinth and reach the center. The path is protected by puzzles. You must solve them to proceed. What kind of puzzles? Logic, mathematics, spatial reasoning. They are based on Valorian thinking, which uses base 12 calculations and 4-dimensional concepts. Do-hyun felt his stomach drop. He was an engineer. He was good with machines, with practical problems. But Valorian mathematics? That was like asking a child to solve problems meant for geniuses. How long do I have? There is no time limit. But most beings who enter do not last more than a few minutes before their minds become overwhelmed. The puzzles grow more complex the deeper you go. Mira stepped closer. Her voice was soft. You do not have to do this. Even now. You can stop. Do-hyun shook his head. I've already decided. I'm not turning back. He stepped into the chamber. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world changed. The entrance disappeared behind him. He was surrounded by floating platforms of blue light, each one covered in strange symbols. Above him, below him, in every direction, the labyrinth stretched endlessly. The first puzzle appeared before him. A screen of light showing numbers in Valorian script. He recognized some of them from his basic training, but the equation made no sense. It seemed to involve angles that didn't exist in normal space. Okay, he muttered to himself. Think. He stared at the puzzle for a full minute. Nothing. The symbols swam before his eyes. Then he took a breath and approached it differently. He didn't try to understand the Valorian math. Instead, he looked for patterns. Humans were good at patterns. Their brains found connections even when they didn't understand the underlying rules. There. The third symbol repeated twice. The fifth symbol always came before the seventh. The equation wasn't just math, it was a sequence. He pressed the symbols in order. The puzzle flashed green and dissolved. A new platform appeared ahead. Outside the chamber, the Valorian observers murmured among themselves. Lyra watched the holographic display showing Do-hyun's progress. Her face remained still, but her eyes narrowed slightly. He solved it, one observer said. That should have taken much longer. Perhaps it was luck, another suggested. The second puzzle was harder. It showed a three-dimensional shape that seemed to exist in impossible space, folding in on itself like an endless loop. The goal was to find the path that led through without crossing itself. Do-hyun walked around the hologram, studying it from every angle. The shape hurt his brain. It was designed for minds that could think in 4 dimensions. Human minds couldn't do that. Or could they? Do-hyun closed his eyes. He stopped trying to see the shape and started trying to feel it. He imagined himself small enough to walk through the paths, turning left, turning right, following his instincts instead of his logic. His hand moved before his brain caught up. He traced a path through the air, his fingers drawing lines that felt right, even though he couldn't explain why. The puzzle accepted his answer. The observers fell silent. That's not how you solve that puzzle, someone said quietly. Not guessed, Mira said. Her voice was thoughtful. Humans call it intuition. They trust feelings their conscious minds cannot explain. It is like a sixth sense. That should not work. And yet it does. Do-hyun pressed forward. Puzzle after puzzle fell before him. He didn't solve them the way Valorians did. He found shortcuts, tricks, alternate routes. When a logic gate demanded a specific sequence of 47 steps, he found a way to bypass it with 3. When a mathematical proof required 4-dimensional thinking, he collapsed it into 2 dimensions and solved it sideways. He was cheating, not breaking the rules, but bending them in ways the designers never expected. The deeper he went, the more the labyrinth seemed to fight him. The walls shifted faster, the puzzles grew more aggressive. But Do-hyun kept moving, kept adapting, kept refusing to give up. His head began to ache. His vision blurred at the edges. The strain of thinking this hard for this long was taking its toll. But he could see it now, the center of the labyrinth, a glowing platform suspended in the void. One final puzzle blocked his path. It was unlike the others. Instead of symbols and numbers, it showed an image, a human face. His face, and a question in Valorian script. He couldn't read the words. But somehow, he understood the meaning. Why do you keep going? Do-hyun stared at his own reflection in the holographic light. Why was he doing this? To prove himself? To escape the bond? To show the galaxy that humans weren't as weak as everyone thought? All of those things. And something more. He reached out and touched his own image. Because giving up was never an option, he said. The puzzle shattered like glass. The path to the center opened. Do-hyun stepped onto the final platform and collapsed to his knees. His body shook. His mind felt like it had been stretched beyond its limits. But he had done it. He had passed the trial of mind. The labyrinth dissolved around him. He found himself back in the original chamber, surrounded by silent Valorians. Lyra and Mira stood at the front, their faces showing emotions he couldn't quite read. Impossible, one of the observers whispered. He completed the trial faster than any non-Valorian in recorded history. How? Another demanded. He barely knows our mathematics. He cannot think in 4 dimensions. How did he solve the puzzles? The High Matriarch stepped forward. She had been watching from the back of the room, her expression unreadable. Now she approached Do-hyun. her violet eyes fixed on his face. "Tell me, human," she said. "How did you do it?" Do-hyun looked up at her. His head was pounding. His eyes could barely focus. But he managed a tired smile. "I didn't solve your puzzles," he said. "I solved different puzzles. Easier ones. Explain. Your labyrinth was built by Valorians, for Valorians. It expects people to think a certain way. But humans don't think that way. We see patterns. We find shortcuts. We ask questions like, what if I don't follow the rules? And what happens if I try something stupid?" He struggled to his feet, swaying slightly. "You gave me a maze with 10,000 paths. I found the 11th, the one you didn't know existed, because you never expected anyone to look for it." The matriarch was silent for a long moment. Then she turned to her daughters. "He is more dangerous than I thought," she said quietly. "Not because he is strong, but because he does not think like us. We cannot predict him." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, I am beginning to see that." Mira moved forward and caught Do-hyun as he stumbled. Her arms were surprisingly gentle. "You need rest," she said. "The trial of body is in 2 days. You must recover." "I'm fine," Do-hyun said weakly. "You are lying." "Yeah, I am." She helped him toward the door. As they walked, she spoke softly. "You surprised everyone today, even me. I did not think it was possible." "Is that a compliment?" "It is a fact. Valorians respect facts." Do-hyun laughed despite his exhaustion. "You know, you're not so bad. For an alien princess who accidentally claimed me at a party." Mira's lips curved slightly. "And you are not so bad. For a human who started an intergalactic incident with a joke." Behind them, Lyra watched with thoughtful eyes. The human had passed 1 trial. 2 remained, and she was beginning to wonder if they had underestimated him from the very beginning. The arena was ancient. Carved from black stone and lit by floating crystals, it had witnessed thousands of battles over 10,000 years. The walls were marked with names of warriors who had proven their worth through combat. Valorian champions, alien challengers, legendary fighters who had shaped history. Today, it would witness something new. Do-hyun stood at one end of the arena floor, wearing simple training clothes. His body still ached from the mental trial 2 days ago. But he had rested as much as he could. Sunwoo had brought him food and terrible jokes. Nari had brought him medical scans and worried looks. "Your bones are too brittle," the doctor had told him. "Your muscles are too slow. Your reflexes are inferior to Valorian standards by every measure." "Thanks for the encouragement," Do-hyun had replied. Now he faced the trial of body, and his opponent walked toward him from the other side of the arena. The Valorian champion was massive, over 2 meters tall, with shoulders like mountains and arms thick as tree trunks. His silver-blue skin was marked with scars from countless battles. His name was Kale, and he had never lost a match in 40 years. "The rules are simple," the announcer declared. The voice echoed through the arena, reaching the crowds of Valorians gathered to watch. "Combat without weapons. The trial ends when one fighter surrenders or is unable to continue. The human must survive for a minimum duration to pass. Any method is permitted except killing." Do-hyun looked up at the stands. The High Matriarch sat in the place of honor, watching with cold eyes. Beside her, Lyra and Mira sat together. Lyra's face was stone. Mira's hands were clasped tight in her lap. Sunwoo waved from a distant corner. He had somehow gotten a seat, despite not being invited. Nari sat beside him, her face pale with worry. "Human," Kale rumbled. His voice was like grinding rocks. "I will try not to break too many of your bones." "Thanks," Do-hyun said. "I appreciate that." The signal sounded. The fight began. Kale moved faster than something that large should be able to move. One moment he was 5 meters away. The next, his fist was coming toward Do-hyun's face like a speeding vehicle. Do-hyun threw himself sideways. The punch missed his head by centimeters. The wind from it ruffled his hair. He hit the ground, rolled, and scrambled back to his feet. His heart hammered in his chest. That punch would have killed him, no question. Kale turned and came again. Another punch. Another dodge. Do-hyun was faster than he looked. Years of working in tight spaces on starships had taught him to move quickly. But he couldn't keep dodging forever. A kick caught him in the ribs. Pain exploded through his body. He flew backward and crashed into the arena wall. Something cracked. Maybe a rib. Maybe two. 11 seconds, someone called out. The crowd murmured. That was pathetic by Valorian standards. Do-hyun pushed himself up. His side screamed in protest. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. Kale approached slowly, almost leisurely. Stay down, little human. You have proven nothing except your own weakness. Do-hyun stood anyway. I'm not done, he said. The crowd went quiet. Kale attacked again. This time, Do-hyun didn't just dodge. He moved into the attack, ducking under Kale's arm and driving his elbow into the giant's stomach. It was like hitting a wall of steel. Pain shot through his arm, but Kale grunted, the first sign that he had felt anything at all. Do-hyun kept moving. He couldn't match strength, so he used speed. He couldn't win a fair fight, so he didn't fight fair. He grabbed sand from the arena floor and threw it at Kale's eyes. When the champion staggered, Do-hyun kicked at his knee. It was like kicking stone. But the knee buckled slightly. Just enough. 20 seconds, someone called. The crowd's murmur grew louder. This was unexpected. Kyle wiped his eyes and roared. His attacks became faster, more brutal. Do-hyun couldn't dodge them all. A punch caught his shoulder and spun him around. A knee drove into his back and sent him sprawling. He tasted blood. His vision blurred. Every part of his body begged him to stop. But he thought about what the trial of mind had taught him. Valorians expected their opponents to think a certain way, to fight a certain way. They weren't prepared for chaos. Do-hyun grabbed a handful of loose stones and threw them not at Kale, but at the ground near his feet. Kale looked down instinctively, and in that moment of distraction, Do-hyun rushed forward. He didn't try to punch or kick. Instead, he jumped onto Kale's back like a child climbing a tree. He wrapped his arms around the giant's throat. Not tight enough to choke, he didn't have the strength for that, but tight enough to annoy. Kale thrashed, trying to throw him off. Do-hyun held on with everything he had. His broken ribs screamed, his arms burned. But he didn't let go. 30 seconds. The crowd was on its feet now. 40 seconds. Kale finally managed to grab Do-hyun and hurl him to the ground. The impact drove the air from his lungs. He lay there, gasping. Unable to move, Kale stood over him, breathing hard. For the first time in 40 years, the champion was winded. 50 seconds. Do-hyun tried to stand. His legs wouldn't cooperate. He managed to get to his knees, swayed, and fell again. 1 minute. Kale raised his fist for a final blow. Stop! The matriarch's voice rang out. The champion froze. The human has survived the minimum duration, the matriarch announced. He has passed the trial of body by valor. The arena fell silent. Then, slowly, a sound began to build. Clapping. Not enthusiastic applause, but acknowledgement. The Valorians were showing respect. Do-hyun lay on the ground, staring at the ceiling. Everything hurt. He was pretty sure he had broken at least 3 ribs, maybe 4. His shoulder might be dislocated. His face was a mess of blood and bruises, but he had passed. Mira was the first to reach him. She knelt beside him, her hands glowing with soft healing light. Valorian medical technology. It wouldn't fix everything, but it would help. You are insane, she said. Her voice shook slightly. You could have died. Did I look cool at least? Do-hyun managed. You looked like a fool. Her hands moved over his ribs, and the pain began to fade. A brave fool, but a fool nonetheless. Lyra appeared behind her sister. She stood over Do-hyun, looking down at him with an expression he couldn't read. You did not fight like a warrior, she said. No, you fought like a survivor. Like something that refuses to die no matter how many times it is knocked down. Is that bad? Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then, so slightly that he almost missed it, she smiled. No, it is. Impressive. In its own strange way, KL approached. The massive champion looked down at Do-hyun, then slowly extended his hand. You have courage, human. I have fought many opponents. Most give up when the pain becomes too great. You did not. Do-hyun took the hand and let KL pull him to his feet. His legs wobbled, but he stayed upright. Thank you, he said. For not actually killing me. You are welcome. KL's scarred face shifted into something that might have been a grin. Next time, perhaps you will learn to fight properly. Next time, I'll bring a weapon, or a spaceship. KL laughed, a booming sound that echoed through the arena. As Do-hyun limped toward the exit, supported by Mira and followed by Lyra, he passed the High Matriarch. She did not speak, but her eyes followed him with new interest. 2 trials down, 1 to go. Sunwoo met him outside the arena, practically bouncing with excitement. That was amazing. You jumped on his back, you threw sand in his eyes, you looked like a crazy person. I feel like a crazy person, Do-hyun groaned. Everything hurts. But you passed. 1 more trial and you're done. Mira's hand tightened on his arm. The final trial is the most dangerous. The trial of spirit. It tests not your mind or body, but your soul. Do-hyun looked at her. Despite the pain, despite the exhaustion, he managed a tired smile. Then I guess I'd better hope I have one. Nari appeared with a medical team. As they loaded Do-hyun onto a stretcher, she leaned down to whisper in his ear. You're doing the impossible. The whole galaxy is watching. Don't screw it up now. No pressure, Do-hyun muttered. But even as they carried him away, he felt something new. Not just pain or fear. Something that felt almost like hope. The Chamber of Echoes was beautiful and terrifying. It sat at the heart of a Valorian temple ship that had traveled between stars for thousands of years. The walls were made of crystal that pulsed with soft light. The air hummed with psychic energy that made Do-hyun's skin tingle. This is the oldest sacred space in our culture, Mira explained as they walked through the entrance hall. The chamber was built before our people left our home world. It has witnessed the birth and death of empires. Do-hyun's ribs had mostly healed thanks to Valorian medicine, but his body still ached. 3 days had passed since the trial of body. 3 days of rest, meditation, and trying not to think about what came next. What exactly does the trial of spirit involve? He asked. Lyra answered. She had been quieter than usual since his fight with KL. The chamber reads your mind. It finds your deepest fears, your greatest regrets, your darkest memories, then it makes you live through them again. That sounds horrible. It is. Many who enter the chamber never leave. Their minds break under the weight of their own pain. Do-hyun stopped walking. And you're telling me this now? Right before I go in? Would you have preferred not to know? He thought about it. No, I suppose not. The chamber itself was a circular room with no visible exits. The crystal walls glowed brighter as they approached. At the center was a single platform where Do-hyun would stand. Once you enter, you will be alone, the High Matriarch said. She had come to oversee this final trial personally. The chamber will show you visions. You must face them without losing yourself. If you surrender to despair, if you let the darkness consume you, you will fail. How do I pass? You must emerge, that is all. Whatever happens inside, you must find your way back. Do-hyun looked at the glowing platform. It seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Mira touched his arm. Her eyes were worried. I want you to know, she said softly, that whatever happens, you have already proven yourself to me. In ways I did not expect. Lyra stepped closer too. Her face was still guarded, but something had changed in her expression. Fight. Human. As you fought in the arena. Do not give up. Do-hyun nodded. Then he walked forward and stepped onto the platform. The world went white. When his vision cleared, he was standing on a space station. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Red emergency lights flashed. And everywhere, there was smoke. He knew this place. Station Delta 7. The accident that had killed 12 of his colleagues 3 years ago. No, he whispered. Not this. But the memory was already playing. He saw himself running through the burning corridors, trying to reach the engineering bay. He heard the screams over the radio. He felt the explosion that threw him against the wall. And then he saw the faces. Han Min-jae, Kim Yerim, Cho Tae-young. All the people he couldn't save. They stood before him now, their eyes empty, their voices echoing in the smoke. You could have saved us, Min-jae said. You were too slow, Yerim added. Why did you live when we died? Do-hyun fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his face. He had been over this moment 1,000 times. The guilt had never left him. If he had been faster. If he had made different choices. If he had died instead of them. I'm sorry, he choked. I'm so sorry. The vision shifted. Now, he stood in his childhood home on Earth. His mother sat at the kitchen table, her face tired and sad. His father stood by the window, refusing to look at him. You never come home anymore, his mother said. You abandoned us for the stars, his father added. We raised you, loved you, and you left us behind. Do-hyun remembered this conversation. It had happened the last time he visited Earth, 2 years ago. The argument that had ended with him storming out. The messages he never answered afterward. The distance that had grown until his family felt like strangers. I had to go, he said weakly. I had to find something. Something that was mine. And did you find it? His mother asked. Are you happy out there? Alone among the stars? He had no answer. The vision shifted again. Now he stood in darkness. Complete, total darkness. And he was alone. This was the deepest fear. Not death. Not failure. Just emptiness. The terror that he had spent his entire life running from something. And he had never stopped to figure out what he was running toward. You joke because you're afraid, a voice said. It was his own voice, echoing from everywhere. You keep people at a distance because you're afraid they'll see how empty you are inside. That's not true, isn't it? Why did you really say you were single at that gala? Because you are single. Because you've always been single. Because some part of you believes you don't deserve to be loved. Do-hyun pressed his hands to his ears, but the voice was inside him. He couldn't escape it. You failed your colleagues. You abandoned your family. You push away everyone who tries to get close. And now you're taking these trials, pretending to be brave. But really, you're just running again. Running from the chance to actually let someone in. The darkness pressed closer. It was cold. So cold. He felt himself sinking into it, losing the edges of himself. Give up, the darkness whispered. Let go. You're tired of fighting. You've always been tired. And for a moment, he almost did. But then he thought about Mira's hand on his arm. The worry in her eyes. The way she had tended his wounds after every trial. He thought about Lyra's small smile in the arena. The respect she had shown him despite herself. The way she had watched him like she was seeing something new. He thought about Sunwoo's stupid jokes and Nari's worried frowns and the stars outside his window every night. He thought about being alone. Really. Truly, alone. And he realized something. He didn't want that anymore. You're right, he said to the darkness. I'm scared. I've always been scared. I run because I don't know how to stay. I joke because I don't know how to be serious. I keep people away because I'm afraid of being hurt. The darkness pulsed. It seemed surprised that he was speaking. But that doesn't mean I'm empty. It means I'm human. Humans are scared and broken, and full of regrets. We make mistakes and fail the people we love. But we also get up. We try again. We keep going even when everything hurts. He stood straight in the darkness. Tears still ran down his face, but his voice was steady. I can't change the past. I can't save the people I lost. I can't take back the words I didn't say. But I can choose what happens next. I can choose to stop running. I can choose to let people in, even if it's terrifying. The darkness began to crack. I am Park Do-hyun, I'm an idiot who started an intergalactic incident with a bad joke. I'm a coward who hides behind humor. I'm a failure who couldn't save his friends. And I'm still here. Still fighting. Because giving up was never who I was. Light broke through the cracks. Warm, golden light that pushed back the cold. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll pass this trial or fail it. But I know one thing. I'm not going to let my past define my future. Not anymore. The darkness shattered. Do-hyun opened his eyes and found himself back in the Chamber of Echoes. He was on his knees, sobbing, his body shaking with exhaustion. But he was alive. He was whole. He looked up and saw Lyra, Mira, and the High Matriarch standing at the edge of the chamber. Their faces showed shock. He emerged, someone whispered. He actually emerged. Mira ran forward. She dropped to her knees beside him and wrapped her arms around him. She was crying too. You did it, she said. You faced the darkness and you came back. Lyra approached more slowly. She knelt beside them and placed her hand on Do-hyun's shoulder. No one has faced the trial of spirit with such honesty, she said quietly. Most fight the darkness. You accepted it, and then moved past it. Do-hyun managed a weak laugh. Is that a good thing? It is a very human thing. And perhaps that is what makes it powerful. The High Matriarch stood over them, her expression unreadable. You have passed all 3 trials, Park Do-hyun of Earth. The bond claim stands. You have proven yourself worthy, but Do-hyun shook his head. No, he said. I didn't do this to prove I was worthy. I did this to earn the right to choose. The matriarch raised an eyebrow. Choose? Yes. Whether to accept the bond or not. On my terms. Not because of ancient laws or accidents or words I didn't understand. He looked at Lyra, then at Mira. Both of them, so different, so strange, so unexpectedly important. I need time, he said, to figure out what I really want. Can you give me that? The twins exchanged a look. Then, together, they nodded. We can, Lyra said. We will wait, Mira added. And for the first time since that night at the gala, Do-hyun felt free. A week passed. Do-hyun spent most of it on the observation deck of the horizon's edge, watching the stars drift by. The ship had entered a holding pattern near a beautiful nebula, its colors painting the darkness with purple and gold. He had never seen anything so peaceful. The trials were over. The diplomatic crisis was resolved. He was free to walk away if he wanted. The Valorians would respect his choice. Earth would be safe. But he couldn't stop thinking about them. Sunwoo found him on the 3rd night, sitting alone by the window. You look like someone stole your lunch, Sunwoo said, dropping into the chair beside him. I thought you'd be celebrating. You won. You beat the scary alien trials. You're a hero. I don't feel like a hero. Then what do you feel like? Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Confused, he finally said. Lost. Like I know what I should do, but I don't know what I want to do. What should you do? Go back to my old life. Work on the ship, fix engines, keep my head down, forget this whole thing happened. And what do you want to do? Do-hyun didn't answer. Sunwoo sighed. You know, for a smart guy, you can be really stupid sometimes. You've got 2 amazing women who literally declared in front of everyone that they want you. They're beautiful, powerful, and for some reason, they actually like you. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I don't know if it's real. They claimed me because of a tradition. Because I said the wrong words at the wrong time. What if they only think they want me because of some ancient law? What if I'm just convenient? Sunwoo looked at him for a long time. Then he punched Do-hyun in the arm. Ow. What was that for? For being an idiot. Did you see the way Mira looked at you in the arena? Did you see Lyra's face when you came out of that chamber? That wasn't tradition. That was real. Do-hyun rubbed his arm. You think so? I know so. And I think you know it too. You're just scared. I just told an ancient psychic chamber all my deepest fears. I'm tired of being scared. Then stop being scared and go talk to them. Do-hyun found Lyra first. She was in the training room. practicing combat forms with a practice blade. Her movements were fluid and precise, like watching water flow uphill. Even alone, she carried herself like royalty. She stopped when she saw him. Park Do-hyun. I did not expect to see you. Can we talk? She set down the blade and faced him. Her violet eyes were guarded, but not cold. We can. They sat on a bench near the window. Outside, the nebula painted the darkness with color. I want to understand something, Do-hyun said. When you claimed me at the gala, was it really just because of tradition? Because I said the right words? Lyra was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than he had ever heard it. The tradition gave us the right to claim you, but it did not force us. We could have let the moment pass. Many Valorians have heard unbonded declarations and chosen not to respond. Then why did you? Because when I looked at you, I saw something different. You stood apart from everyone else, watching the stars like they were old friends. You did not try to impress us or use us. You were simply yourself. She turned to face him fully. I have spent my entire life surrounded by people who want something from me. Power, alliance, favor. You wanted nothing. You were honest in your loneliness. That honesty drew me. And the trials? When I fought, when I struggled, what did you see? I saw a man who refused to surrender. Not because he was strong, but because giving up was against his nature. I have met warriors who are physically powerful but spiritually weak. You are the opposite. Your body is fragile, but your spirit is unbreakable. She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was warm. I did not claim you because of tradition, Park Do-hyun. I claimed you because something in me recognized something in you. I do not fully understand it, but I know it is real. Do-hyun felt his heart beating faster. Thank you, he said, for telling me. He found Mira in the laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing human biology. She had been studying his species since the gala, trying to understand how they worked. Do-hyun, she said, surprised. Is everything all right? I need to talk to you. About the claim. About us. She set down her work and gave him her full attention. Unlike Lyra, Mira's emotions showed on her face. Right now, she looked nervous. I have been expecting this conversation, she admitted. I have been afraid of it too. I have been afraid of it too. Why afraid? Because I know what I feel, but I do not know if you feel the same. And if you do not, I will have to accept it. But it will hurt. Do-hyun sat beside her. Tell me what you feel. Mira took a deep breath. When I first saw you, I was curious. Humans are fascinating to me. You are so young as a species, so fragile. Yet you have spread across the stars faster than any other civilization in history. I wanted to study you, to understand what makes you different. And now? Now I do not want to study you. I want to know you. The real you. Not the biological data. She looked away. During the trial of spirit, I felt echoes of your pain through the chamber. I felt your loneliness, your guilt, your fear, and I wanted to take it away. I wanted to tell you that you do not have to be alone anymore. Her voice broke slightly. I have never felt that way about anyone. It frightens me. But it also feels right. Do-hyun reached out and turned her face toward him. You know what I realized in that chamber? He said. I've spent my whole life running from connection. I keep people away because I'm afraid of being hurt. But being alone hurts too. Maybe more. Maybe more. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being afraid. And when I think about my future, I don't see engines and stars and empty rooms anymore. I see you. Both of you. Mira's eyes widened. Both of us? Is that wrong? In your culture? No. Twin bonds are rare but sacred. To bond with both sisters is considered deeply meaningful. She paused. But it requires that you truly want both of us, not as a package, but as individuals. I do. He said it with certainty he hadn't known he possessed. Lyra challenges me. She makes me want to be stronger. You understand me. You make me feel seen. I need both. Mira smiled. It was the brightest smile he had ever seen on her face. Then perhaps you should tell her that too. That night, Do-hyun gathered both sisters on the observation deck. The nebula glowed behind them, painting their silver skin with purple and gold. I've made my decision, he said. Lyra and Mira waited. I want to accept the bond. But on my terms. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Your terms? Yes. I won't be owned or collected. I won't be a trophy human you show off to other species. If we do this, we do it as equals. Partners, I'll learn your ways, but you'll learn mine too. This goes both directions. The sisters exchanged a look. Something passed between them, agreement, perhaps, or amusement. You wish to change 10,000 years of tradition, Lyra said. Yes. Because you believe partnership should be equal. Yes. Even though you are younger, weaker, and less experienced than us in every way. Do-hyun grinned. Especially because of that. I've got a lot of catching up to do. You'll have to be patient with me. Mira laughed softly. Lyra's lips curved into that small smile he was beginning to treasure. Very well, Park Do-hyun, Lyra said. We accept your terms. But you should know that proposing changes to the bonding ceremony will shock everyone. My mother may actually faint. Good. She seems like she needs the surprise. You are impossible. I know. That's why you claimed me. And standing there under the painted stars, for the first time in his life, Do-hyun felt like he was exactly where he belonged. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Union was the largest structure Do-hyun had ever seen. Built on a station that orbited a dying star, it could hold representatives from over 1,000 species. Today, it was filled to capacity. News of the human who had passed the Valorian trials of worth had spread across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to witness what would happen next. Do-hyun stood at the entrance, wearing formal clothes that Mira had helped him choose. They were a blend of human and Valorian styles, dark fabric with silver threading, a compromise between two worlds. His hands were sweating. Nervous? Sunwoo asked. He stood beside Do-hyun as his official witness, grinning like a fool. Terrified. Good. That means you care. Nari appeared at his other side. For once, she wasn't frowning. The whole diplomatic corps is watching. Earth Command is watching. Basically, the entire galaxy is watching. No pressure. Thanks for the encouragement. Hey, you got yourself into this. I'm just here to make sure you don't trip on your way to the altar. The signal came. Music filled the hall, ancient Valorian harmonies mixed with something that sounded almost like a human orchestra. It was strange and beautiful. Do-hyun walked forward. The path to the central platform seemed to stretch forever. He passed rows of alien faces, some curious, some skeptical, some openly hostile. Humans were still newcomers to the galactic stage. Many species doubted they belonged here at all, but Do-hyun kept walking. At the end of the path stood Lyra and Mira. They wore matching ceremonial robes of silver and white, their hair woven with crystals that caught the light. They looked like goddesses from ancient myths, and they were smiling at him. The High Matriarch stood behind her daughters, presiding over the ceremony. Her face was carefully neutral, but Do-hyun had learned to read her over the past weeks. She was curious, maybe even a little impressed. He climbed the steps and took his place facing the twins. We gather today, the matriarch announced, her voice carrying across the hall, to witness a bonding. This ceremony has been performed for 10,000 years, binding Valorians in sacred partnership. But today is different. She paused. Today, a human joins our tradition. Park Do-hyun of Earth, who passed the trials of worth, has accepted the claim of my daughters. But he has proposed changes to the ceremony itself. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was unprecedented. Speak, human, the matriarch commanded. Tell us what you propose. Do-hyun cleared his throat. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. In your tradition, bonding is about claiming. One party claims another. The claimed becomes part of the claimer's family, following their ways, accepting their authority. He looked at Lyra, then Mira. But that's not what I want, and I don't think it's what they want either. He turned to face the crowd. Humans don't claim people. We choose them. And real choice goes both ways. If Lyra and Mira are claiming me, then I'm also claiming them. We're choosing each other, not as owner and owned, but as partners. Equals. This breaks tradition, someone called out. Do-hyun didn't see who. Maybe tradition needs to be broken sometimes, he replied. 10,000 years ago, your ancestors created these ceremonies. They were wise and thoughtful. But they couldn't predict everything. They couldn't predict humans, he smiled. We're new. We're young. We do things differently. And maybe that's not a weakness. Maybe that's what we can offer the galaxy, a new way of looking at old problems. He turned back to the twins. Lyra, Mira, I don't want to belong to you. I want to belong with you. I want us to build something new together. Not human. Not Valorian. But something that's ours. The hall was silent. Then Lyra stepped forward. When I claimed you, she said, I thought I was following tradition, doing what Valorians have always done. But you have shown me that tradition without meaning is empty. She took his hand. I do not want to own you, Park Do-hyun. I want to stand beside you, as your partner, your equal. Mira stepped forward too. I have studied humans for weeks now, she said. I thought I was learning about your biology, your culture. But I was really learning about you. About your kindness, your stubbornness, your ridiculous jokes. She took his other hand. I do not want a claimed partner. I want you. All of you. Including the parts that frustrate me. The matriarch watched all of this with unreadable eyes. Then, slowly, she spoke. This is irregular. In 10,000 years, no one has proposed changing the bonding ceremony. It challenges everything our people have built. Do-hyun held his breath. But perhaps, the matriarch continued, that is exactly what we need. She raised her hand, and the light in the hall shifted, focusing on the three of them. I see before me not a claiming, but a choosing. Not ownership, but partnership. This is strange to Valorian eyes. But strange is not always wrong. She looked at Do-hyun. You have passed our trials. You have proven your worth in ways that surprised us all. And now you ask us to adapt, to grow. She smiled. It was the first time Do-hyun had ever seen her smile. Very well. I declare this bond valid, not as a traditional claiming, but as something new. A partnership between equals. Let the galaxy witness it. The hall exploded into applause. Not everyone was clapping. Do-hyun could see some faces twisted with disapproval. Others with confusion. Change was never easy. But enough were applauding that it felt like a wave of sound washing over him. Lyra squeezed his hand. You did it. You actually changed Valorian tradition. We did it, he corrected. I couldn't have done this alone. Mira leaned her head against his shoulder. What happens now? Do-hyun looked at the vast hall. The thousands of alien faces. The stars visible through the great windows. Now we figure it out as we go. That's what humans do. The celebration afterward lasted for hours. Do-hyun shook hands with more aliens than he could count. Diplomats congratulated him. Scientists asked questions about human neurology. One very drunk reptilian ambassador kept calling him the crazy monkey and laughing. Eventually, he escaped to a quiet balcony overlooking the dying star. Lyra and Mira found him there, and they stood together in comfortable silence. So, Do-hyun said finally, what now? Do I meet the extended family? You already met my mother, Lyra pointed out. She is the most difficult one. Was she really impressed, or was she just being polite? My mother is never polite. If she smiled, she meant it. Great. One down. How many to go? Several hundred. Do-hyun groaned. Mira laughed softly. Do not worry. We will protect you from the relatives. Mostly. My Aunt Vestra is very enthusiastic about humans. She may try to measure your skull. What? She is a collector. That's terrifying. They stood together, watching the star paint the darkness with dying light. Despite everything, the trials, the diplomacy, the galaxy watching Do-hyun felt peaceful. You know, he said, this all started because I made a stupid joke. Yes, Lyra agreed. It did. If I hadn't said I was single, none of this would have happened. Correct. Do-hyun shook his head in wonder. What are the odds? Mira took his arm. The odds do not matter. What matters is that it happened, and that we are here now, together. From behind them came a familiar voice. Excuse me, coming through, best friend privileges. Sunwoo appeared on the balcony, holding a glass of something bright orange. Just wanted to say congratulations, he said. And also, I hate you a little bit. Why? Because you tripped into a situation and ended up with two beautiful alien girlfriends. Sorry, partners, and I can't even get a match on the dating app. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You use dating applications? Doesn't everyone? Valorians do not. We prefer the traditional method of making declarations at formal gatherings. Sunwoo stared at her. You mean I could just walk into a party, say I'm single, and someone might claim me? If they find you worthy, yes. Sunwoo's face lit up. Do-hyun, you need to take me to more Valorian parties. Absolutely not. Please? No. As Sunwoo continued to argue his case, Lyra and Mira exchanged amused glances. This was their life now. Human chaos mixed with Valorian tradition. It was messy and strange, and completely unpredictable. It was perfect. Later, as the celebration ended and they prepared to leave the station, Do-hyun looked back at the grand hall one final time. He had come here as an engineer who made a mistake. He was leaving as something else entirely. A pioneer. A bridge between species. A man who had faced his fears and chosen love over loneliness. Ready? Mira asked. Ready, he replied. They walked into their new life together, a human, two Valorians, and a future that no one could have predicted. And somewhere in the galaxy, other humans heard the story and smiled. Because that was the human way. Not conquering with armies, but connecting with hearts. Not forcing change, but inspiring it. One awkward, stubborn, joke-making human at a time.